Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sweet Hollow Farm Life. Okay, if you've been watching my videos, you know that this year we planted our potatoes all in large pots. They're really not pots. They were protein tubs for cows that farmers were done with, and I either got them for free or I paid $2 for about 20 of them. Not even 20 probably, but anyways. So I planted my potatoes in those kind of pots. And I tried a new method this year. I wasn't sure, but I've seen it on YouTube. So I'm going to tell you guys my take on that. I'm also going to tell you what happens if you plant regular potatoes that you're eating, that you buy from the grocery store, into your garden. So stay tuned, and I'm going to show you guys all of that. Okay, so the method I am talking about, you plant a few of your potatoes extremely deep in that pot. Not at the bottom, but, pretty deep. I probably planted it that close to the bottom. And I staggered those in a triangle, 3 of them. And then I came up to where you would normally plant a potato. And I planted opposite triangle with 3 more. Okay, let me show you guys what I have decided on that method, if I'm going to do it again. This is, that's not the right one. Okay. This is a potato that was planted normal, and it looks great. I am very happy with that potato. But the potatoes that I planted deep came out like this. Look at the difference. So yes, I will be doing that method again because I like this size. This is a good roasting size, but this is a good mashed potato size. So I am going to do both, and I was real impressed. I mean, I have a lot of really big potatoes that I planted deep, and out of the 3 last bins that I just harvested, I have probably, and I'll try to go weigh it before I finish. I actually am only going to call this 2 bins, and I'll tell you that why in just a moment. But I'll go weigh this and let you guys know how many potatoes I got out of those 2 bins. I'm guessing at least 30 to 40 pounds out of those 2 bins. But now let's move to the potatoes that I ran out of. I ran out of seed potatoes whenever I was planting, and I had 1 bin left. So I came in and grabbed a few potatoes out of my cupboard. Okay, I know those potatoes, they treat them so that they won't eye out. But you guys, after planting them and seeing what they do, I don't know that I could ever eat those potatoes again, because every one of those, first of all, let me show you how small of a harvest I got. I got these few, this is the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 potatoes were planted with eyes on them. I got these and just these few more right here. That's all I got out of that. That's it. Okay, so they don't grow very well, and I know they're not supposed to, but I want to show you guys this because I want to show you what you're eating when you eat this, whatever this chemical is that they're putting on these potatoes so that they don't eye out. Every one of the potatoes have these gigantic splits in them. I've never seen that before. There's not one of them that I pulled out there that didn't have a defective. Look at that. I'm throwing these out. I don't feed them to I don't feed raw potatoes to my chickens either. So these are going to go all in the compost pile. So that's why I'm saying I'm not going to count this 3rd bin because it wouldn't be a fair count. You guys, don't plant the potatoes that you're growing at the grocery store. And if you can help it, buy your potatoes from a farmer's market or from a farmer, because what the hell are they putting in our potatoes that they grow like this? I'm 60 years old now. So back when I was younger, in my teens and my 20s, probably even my 30s, you could go grab potatoes out of your cabinet and throw them in the ground, and they grew like regular seed potatoes. There was really almost no point in buying a seed potato. But these potatoes are scary. I mean, they're really scary. Like, oh my gosh, we've been eating those potatoes, and that's how they grow. Why would you want anything that grows and looks that pitiful? I mean, what kind of chemical are they putting in that? I guess I should research that. So anyways, the new growing method, absolutely do it. It was just, I couldn't believe how big potatoes I was pulling out of my ground. And I'm going to go weigh this so I'll just add it to, I'll add it to this, or I'll turn the video on and let you guys know, but I'll let you guys know how much I got out of just 2 bins. My other bins, I don't think I got a weight on those, but I did get a lot of potatoes because I had 10 altogether, 9 if you don't count this one that obviously didn't grow. So 9 bins, and I think we probably got around 50 pounds of potatoes out of the other 7. And then I'm sure I got more than that out of these. So, and I'm wondering if I dug deep enough on some of them other bins, I may have left some big old potatoes behind on those. But yeah, do the new growing method. It really did work for me anyways, and I will be planting my potatoes from now on like that because it's nice to get some big ones and it's nice to get some medium ones. And I will not ever, I'm not even sure I'll even buy these kind of potatoes again. That's just scary. Okay, I'll be back in just a little bit. Okay, I went and put this on my scales, and this is right at 20 pounds. And I'm just going to let you see it. And a 5-gallon bucket's halfway full, too. So that's about 20 pounds. So, and what I was hoping for when I planted the potatoes this year, I was really, really hoping to average 10 pounds per bin. That would be 100 pounds of potatoes, which would get Rusty and I pretty far throughout the year. Of course, don't wash them. Leave them dirty. And throw them in something where air can kind of circulate. I have a basket in my pantry, and my pantry light, my pantry is dark and cool. So I'm hoping they'll keep for a while in there. So I'm going to go throw these potatoes in there with the rest of them. And I appreciate you guys watching up to this point, but there's going to be more to come, so stay tuned. Okay, guys, so the next project we're working on today is Rusty's favorite thing in the world, are these vinegar peppers that you can buy at the grocery store, and I will try to get a price and let you guys know. I think these things cost about $2 or $3 now, but for that reason, we planted plenty of banana peppers this year, and I did get to pick a few this morning, and really I wish I had more than this to can, but I don't want these to go bad. I want to can them fresh for him. So the next thing we're going to do is get these canned. They're going to be a hot bath canning, and I've got to make a brine real quick and get these washed and cut up, because I think I'm going to go ahead and cut them into rings since the peppers are kind of big. I think I'm going to chop them up a little bit and get those canned, and we'll work on that project now. And Rusty loves the taste of any kind of pepper pretty much. His problem now, since he's had the throat cancer, and is that he can't handle a lot of heat on his throat anymore. So these banana peppers are perfect. He gets to have his peppers, but they're not hot at all. Anybody can eat them. So, but they're so good. What does he use these for? He likes to put them on beans when we have beans and cornbread. They're great on black-eyed peas. You could add them to a salad. He likes to eat them on a salad, and Rusty really likes to eat them on a sandwich too. He always when we go to Subway, he'll always request the banana peppers on his sandwich. So there's a lot of things you can use these for, and I'm going to try to can him as many jars as I can this year. And the way the peppers are putting out, he's probably going to get quite a few, because they're really, I mean, we're still in May, and this is my second harvest. I didn't can the last ones, but I was making chili, so I cut them up and threw them in our chili, and they were good with that too. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. And he'll be so happy to have this, especially this winter when he's eating a big old bowl of beans and cornbread. Okay, so I had too many for 2 jars, but not really enough for 3. So I just packed them a little light, but that'll be fine because these will last, 1 jar in the fridge will last quite a while. So we're going to go with that. And I've got them in the jars. And so the next thing I'm going to do now is make the brine. So watch me and I'll show you guys how to make some brine for this. Okay, so I just have my saucepan. I'm going to put this on medium heat because I'm just going to watch it. As soon as it starts boiling, it's done. I need 1 cup of vinegar. I hope this is enough for all 3. I think it'll be enough for all 3 jars. But I want 1 cup of vinegar in there. I'm going to add 1 cup of water. I am going to add a tablespoon of sugar, and I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt. And guys, that's it. That's all you need for your brine. Just takes very, very few pennies worth of ingredients for this. Let me get a wooden spoon over here. There's my wooden spoon. I'm going to give this a quick stir. And all we want is for this to start to come to just a slight simmer so that the sugar and the salt will melt all the way, and we want the liquid to be hot. So I'm going to go ahead and get my lids out and get those ready. And I'm going to grab a big pot. Okay. This pot's going to be big enough since I'm doing these tiny little jars. Instead of me having to go in my canning room and getting my big pot out, I'm just going to use this size pot because I only have 3 little short jars. All I have to do is be able to put water on top of them, and this pot is plenty deep enough for that, as you can probably see. So we'll be able to use this, and I don't have to go and drag everything else out, and I'll get some water in here and get it going. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn this, and then again, I'm going to do this on about a little over medium heat probably. Okay, and just the time it took me to run that water, my brine is ready. So I'm going to pour my brine in my Pyrex measure because it'll be easier to pour it into my jars. Okay, let's hope we have enough. If not, we'll have to make some more. And I'm just pouring. It's going to get hot. And I'm doing about a ½ inch headspace on this. I think this is about the right amount for 3 jars. Okay, that was perfect. I actually have enough left for a 4th jar. So 1 cup of vinegar, 1 cup of water, and you're going to have enough to do 4 of these small little jelly jars. Okay, now I got to get my rims wiped off. And we're going to use vinegar for that too. Always keep lots of vinegar around because vinegar is very, very useful for the canner. And I think I'm almost out, so I'm going to have to order some more today. Okay, so I've got my rings, and I just screw it down. Don't screw it as tight as you can screw it, but just screw it snug. And remember, if something happens, I don't like the way that ring felt. If something happens that these don't all seal for you with hot water bathing, it's easy. Just throw it back in the water and do it for another 10 minutes. Some of these rings, my rings are getting old. Oh, that one feels better. Okay, so I've got all these ready now. And I'm going to go ahead and get these in my water over here. And I don't know if I have enough water in there yet. Okay, I do need to add a little bit more water. This pan, the only problem I may have is it may try to overboil because it is a little bit short. So we'll try it. And as soon as this starts to boil, I'm going to give it a 10-minute timer and then set it off to cool and make sure they seal, and then they go in the cabinet. And there's 3 more jars of stuff we'll have this winter we get to enjoy, or even the summer. Okay, my 10-minute timer just went off, and as you can see, that might have been a mistake using a small pan, but it is what it is. So we're going to go ahead and turn that off, and we'll pull these out, and I'll clean up my mess, and we'll see if they all take a seal after they cool off. I could just let these sit in the water till they cool, but I'm not going to. So I get too anxious for that. And as you can see, I didn't pack them tight. So there's what, you know, they'll settle later. But yeah, because I didn't pack them tight, there is a good gap in there. But the juice is really good too. So Rusty he'll take advantage of all of it. He loves the juice. He likes to pour the juice like on his black eyed peas. So I'm not worried about a little extra juice there. But okay, we'll give these a few minutes to cool and make sure they seal, and then we'll get them dated and get them in the pantry. Okay, guys, so what's for dinner tonight? Well, there's potatoes out of our garden, and oh my gosh, they're so good and so creamy. I left the skins on, but I did scrub them, so there's not a lot of skins there. The meatloaf has onion from the garden, garlic from there, and it's our beef that we butchered here on the farm. Really good. And if you notice it, there's no shrinkage on it because the beef is like 98% lean. And then black eyed peas that I had canned. And of course, I added some of our juice that we just made today, and I came back over to get me some more, because that stuff is so, it tastes like you just pulled it straight out of the garden, which we did today. But it is so good and so fresh. So what do we have? This is, I don't even know how to put a price on that because we grew it in the garden. So other than what we paid for potato seeds, you know, that's pretty much free. The peas that I have right here, I bought them dried and I canned them, and it was $1 a bag, and I got like 16 of the jars. No, I'm sorry. I got about 8 of the jars out of one bag. So those were just pennies, probably a quarter is what I fixed tonight. And then the beef comes out to about $6 a pound when you figure the processing and feeding the cow and everything. So the $6 for a pound of that, a few cents for the peas. So guys, here is a wonderful dinner, and this dinner is probably less than $7. Okay, thanks for watching. Thanks for staying with us, and we'll see you next time on Sweet Hollow Farm Life. Y'all have a great week.